A very good evening, students. I'm back with your fifth chapter with me. I started off with the fifth chapter yesterday, day before yesterday, and I had just explained you why we need business level strategies, if you remember. And today I'll continue with that chapter, which is business level strategies. Okay. So for business level strategies, we should first need to understand. A very good evening, Meenakshi, Vimla. How nice you people are responding immediately. That's so wonderful. So what we talked about in the last class was about business level strategies. And in those business level strategies, we talked that we need to deliver value to the customers. We need to make our customers satisfied, and we need to make sure that they are fully comfortable with the product, so that our strategic needs are met and our goals which are laid down strategically are also met. Now again, coming on to the background of why we need business level strategies, I'll try to define. I'll try to tell you that business level strategies is all about basically we can say, I'll not talk about it right now, but I'll tell you about the background. Background is that for business level strategies, this theorist D.F. Abel, he talks about that. He says that if at the heart of business level strategies lies three things. The three things which are very important for business level strategies are so that they become successful, or on the basis of which you frame business level strategies are: number one, you need to understand the customer needs, right? You need to understand yesterday I talked about delivering value. So it is something like that, right? But when you deliver value, you need to deliver value in the sense that you should, the value which is delivered is a little different from the value which is being delivered by the competitors. So that means there should be product differentiation. For any business level strategy to be successful, it should base itself on the product differentiation, because in business level strategies, we are dealing with competition. That's simple. And strategy means competition, you know that. So when you know that business level strategies are based on, they are there because we have to face competition. So the first thing you need to understand is on what these strategies are based is product differentiation. You should be able to differentiate your product in such a manner that that product is delivering something different which the competitors are not delivering, right? So if the competitors are delivering the same thing as you are delivering, or if the competitors are not delivering better than you, then you won't be able to succeed in business level strategies. So next important thing you have to think about is, what target group are you focusing on? What is the market segmentation? How will you segment the market for your business level strategies, right? So this is another foundation on which business level strategies are framed. So we can say these are the basic core or the foundations on which these strategies lie. You have to understand these three basics for understanding the business level strategies. So first is product differentiation. Second is, how will you segment the market? I'll tell you okay, Ria, I have got your point. You want me to put it in slideshow mode? Okay, then I was trying to put something into it, then I'll not be able to. That's perfectly fine. I'll do that. What is required? Yeah. Is it okay now? Okay. So, what Abel said, that you need to have product differentiation, you need to have market segmentation. For making business strategies, you should be first comfortable as to what segment are you going in for, and third is you should have certain distinctive competencies, though core, but they should be distinctive. Your core competency should be distinct, not core exactly, I would say. Your competencies, whatever your excellence, whatever your excellence you possess, whatever you are good at, it should be distinctive from others, distinctive from your competitors. If it is not differentiable from your competitors, even your competence should be differentiable. Your product should be differentiated. Your competencies should also be differentiated. So how can you differentiate your competencies? You can differentiate your competencies on the basis of efficiency, on the basis of quality, on the basis of innovation, and on the basis of customer responsiveness. How responsive the customer is towards your product. How often he's how often he is comfortable buying your product, and how happy he is by buying your product, right? So these three are the basis on which these business level strategies base themselves, right? So these are the main foundations on which we'll be studying all the different types of business level strategies. So now I come on to the detail of what does ABEL mean by customer needs. What ABEL means, the ABEL says that it is customer needs should be fulfilled through product differentiation, right? You have to make your product different. I have been using this word time and again, and you're very well aware of what product differentiation is, but a little more little more we'll talk about, because product differentiation is basically that if it is not priced low, then you have to have either you have price advantage. If you don't have that price advantage, you need to make your product different in order to succeed in business level strategies. And these differentiation should be not copyable, or it should be very, very strong, which the competitors cannot imitate. For example, Japanese car are known for their reliability and durability. Like they had USP you can talk about. Product differentiation can also be related to a USP, can relate to unique selling proposition. What is different in you? I think that will be taken into account in distinctive competencies. No, but product differentiation is that you are doing some differentiation and you're establishing your product in a different way than your competitors, and that particular feature which is different in you and is not there in the competitor's product, that has to be highlighted in your marketing strategies. That has to be highlighted in your marketing ways, in your marketing communications. You have to tell this is where, for example, if there's a toothpaste says it contains salt, so it is assuming that no other toothpaste is containing a salt. So it is showing its product differentiation, and it is highlighting also highlighting it into the communications also. So Vimla is saying distinctive competencies mean the X factor or the wow factor. Vimla, you're talking in terms of totally a big marketeer who says, oh, my product has a wow factor, or just like teenagers do. But of course, you can say that in that sense, but actually it is, the USP. We write it USP, that is unique selling proposition. Something unique is there in your product which makes it distinctive from the other products. So of course, in your lingo, I must say, it is the X factor or the wow factor. Fine, Vimla, absolutely. You can interpret it that way, but in theory, we will say we will term it as unique selling proposition. So Radha is saying examples of product differentiation is Apple Inc. bringing new versions of iPhone, then products like airport, iPads. Absolutely, Radha. We have been talking about differentiation a lot. So obviously, you people have lots and lots of knowledge about it, and giving lots and lots of new examples also. Good. So then product differentiation can also lead to a lot of customization. Like if you add more and more features, then the product might become customized to the needs of the customer. So product differentiation also takes into account, because you see the customer needs, and if in a group the customer needs are different from group number 2, then you produce two types of goods, one for group 1 people and second for the group 2 people. So that is why you first need to identify, are there varied needs of the customers in relation to my product? Whatever I'm selling, is it that the customers need variants in that product? If you're selling sugar, of course, you won't find any big variants in that. case. But if you're selling shampoos, soaps, other products which from perfumes, so you might find that there are needs related to that product. So on the basis of that need, you will try and differentiate your products. Second thing is your market segmentation. Market segmentation means that in case you want to have good business strategies in place, you should be able to segment your market, right? All these things are interlinked. Your whole strategic management is interrelated. Now, what is market segmentation? Kristen says, we can follow cost leadership with product depreciation? Of course we can, but then these two are different strategies, and combined they become a new strategy. We will be doing all this later in the chapter, Kristen. Of course we will be doing this. So, where I was talking about market segmentation. Now, for having a good business strategy in place, a strategist or a manager, he should be able to segment his market, because everything runs after market and customers. So I might use the word marketeer in between, because everything is interlinked. But of course, I'm saying that the strategist should understand the segmentation of the market. Segmentation of the market is that if you have a whole market, for example, the whole market is India. In India, you will be having different kinds of people, right? Your people in North India would be behaving differently. People in South India would be behaving differently, eating differently, wearing clothes differently, because the climate is different. Their food habits would be different. Their language would be different. Ads which will go to them will be different, right? So you just cannot make one ad for the whole of India if your product is differentiated. If you're producing only one product, of course you can give one ad to the whole market. So the strategist has to decide that if this is the size of the market, he will break that market, because the whole of the market is consisting of heterogeneous groups. Heterogeneous groups. That means there'll be different groups of people or segments who would be having similar tastes and similar habits and similar way of thinking and similar way of behaving. So it is the task of the marketeer to segment the whole market into small segments. For example, one market can be divided into 5 segments. Now the marketer has to understand, business strategist has to understand, in which segment should I go? Should I go to segment number 1? Should I go to segment number 2, 3, 4, or all of them? Now this thing again depends on what type of product are you producing. If you are producing a product which is used as it is, it does not need any variation, or it does not need any, you can say, it does not need any variation or differentiation, then what would happen? Then you will do? You will not segment your market into various segments. You will treat the whole market as one. You will have only one market. So for example, again I'll come back to cement. So cement, there are no variations. So whatever market cement is having, he will sell the same standard product to the whole market, and there is no need for that business to undergo segmentation for that matter, and they need not segment the market and sell the cement to the market as a whole, right? So what are that means there are 3 strategies available. For the strategists to follow in the case of market segmentation. I'll just see what Vimla has written. Market segmentation is when the firm or the company focuses on specific class of people. For example, mobile market will attract mainly youth. Vimla, you are correct. It will attract mainly youth, but it is being used by all. You cannot say that, barring, say, children below 10 years, I'm presuming, 10 years, 12 years, everybody else is having a phone in the hands. So you cannot say that it attracts youth, but the market is above 10 years or 12 years or 15 years, all above that are the market, right? So the company can sell to all of them, though youth are mainly attracted. So youth can be, targeted more, because they keep on changing their phones more. elderly would not change it more. That is fine. Then the advertising strategies would be different. But your segmentation would be public above, I'll say 10, I'll not even say 10, 15 years and above, till say I say 75 years, till the age the person can use phones, right? Okay, Vimla. So basically, you can segment your market in three ways. Either you sell it to the whole market. I gave you the example of cement. That for cement, you will sell it to the whole market. There is no need to segment because you don't have any variants, and cement doesn't require any variants also. And another is that you go with a differentiated strategy. Differentiation, I've told you. You do the differentiation and you develop different segments. And for those different segments, you develop different products. For example, you have toothpaste. I'll take the shampoo. I'll take the example of shampoo. So shampoo, you segment the market on the basis of benefits. That the ones who have dry hair would be needing a different shampoo. The ones who have oily hair would be needing the different shampoo. The one who are having dandruff would be needing a different shampoo. So you make these variants for these specific segments of people who are having different type of hair. Now here, the segment is on the basis of the quality of hair you are having. So, and also age can also be considered as a basis. So there are many bases on which you can segment the market, and then accordingly you can produce a product or a product variant for that particular specific segment. So that is known as going in a differentiated manner, which is also known as product differentiation. Now the third type is a concentrated segmentation. Concentrated segmentation is that neither you go to the whole market, neither you segment it into 4 or 5 segments and target only 2 or 3 segments which are useful to you. What you do is, in that particular total market, you see which is the biggest segment and you focus only on that. For example, if you segment it on the basis of income, the market, you are segmenting the market on the basis of income. So then what happens in that case? You see that the maximum number of people lie in the income group of lower middle class, for example. So now what you do, you make your product only to target that particular big segment and you leave the other segments. So in case of concentrated, you concentrate on only one segment. One segment you think will be very profitable and there is a growth chance in that, and you leave the others. So then it is concentrated, or it can be niche marketing also. Niche marketing, I would like to go and show you. I should write these segmentation. It can be undifferentiated, where you go into the market and you don't differentiate, and you don't undifferentiated, you don't differentiate on the basis of segmentation. You give the product to all people, it's the same product to all people. Then there is differentiated, and then there is concentrated. You concentrate only on one big niche or one big segment or niche. Niche is a very small segment in a market, very small segment in the market, which is overlooked by others because they don't feel it is very productive, which is overlooked by the competitors, because it is a very specific one and requires specific technology or knowledge. So that is why the company which takes it just caters to that specific segment. Now that is known as niche marketing. I'll just see what the children have written. Priyanka Dinkar says market segmentation, specific toothpaste for people having sensitivity or yellow teeth. Perfect, Priyanka. Absolutely. All of you know what segmentation is all about. Then market segmentation, wearing jewelry by North Indians and South Indians may vary. They have respective cultures. So jewelry shops should make market segmentation. Absolutely fine, Meenakshi. Bilkul, I mean, it's perfectly fine. I'm sorry I come on to Hindi in between. So it's perfectly fine. You people are understanding it very well. So there are three strategies by which the marketer can enter in a market, or a strategist can make strategy accordingly. Whether he will go in undifferentiated way, whether he will go in a differentiated way, or whether he'll go in a concentrated way, or he will cover only a niche. Now, can anybody give me example of niche? Yes, Vimla is asking, ma'am, what is the example of niche? Okay. The example of niche is, for example, I talked about, did I talk about Western wear in the country? So now most of before 6-7 years back, 10 years back, Western wear was not very common, especially with the elderly ladies. But now Western wear is common with all the ladies in India, and it is a common tire in the wardrobe of every lady. Now, this Western wear the niche in this market would be Western wear for fat ladies. Now, this is something which is very specific, because you don't know whether fat ladies would be wearing Western wear or not. But then you try to tap this, because the companies who were making Western wear were making the product for slim ladies and the ones who could carry Western wear. So they did not take into account the feelings or the needs of fat ladies. So this is a niche where the other competitors, they ignored it, and they thought there's no point going into it because it might be unprofitable. But somebody can pick this niche, and the companies did do one or two. They made the Western wear for fat ladies, and it is fat ladies. So and this is a very, very specific requirement, and for a very particular kind of a segment, ladies who are fat, right? Similarly, you have uniforms for army. So not everybody would like to produce uniform from army. So it is a very, very specific thing for a very, very specific segment of people. Only the people in army would be wearing uniform, and it is, it's a government thing, and it will be given through tenders or whatever. So whosoever picks up that particular niche or segment, which is generally not taken into account by the competitors, because they want to concentrate on better and big segments which are very comfortable and which have a lot of growth scope. So in niche what happens, either you become very, very specialized. It is very, very you become very, very comfortable, because you know the specificities of that particular segment, because you are catering to only a small segment. So you know the needs, and you are very careful about what customer would be happy about. But once this niche comes into the eyes of the big competitors, they would try to snatch it away from you. And that's the risk lies in niche, because you are concentrating only on niche and you don't have any other experience. So once that niche is gone, you are left without business. So that's the biggest problem with niche. Niche, Sanjay, is a Rolls-Royce car. Not really, Sanjay. It's a big segment. The people who are very wealthy, who are affluent, it's not a niche. So Rolls-Royce is targeting them. So it will not come under niche. No, I'm sorry, it is not under niche. Radha, niche example is publishing. Yes, absolutely, Radha. Very good example. If you have for differently abled person, whatever equipment, whatever is being manufactured, that would come under niche. Very nice example. Radhika ma'am, can we get this PPT for help in my studies? Oh, of course, you've already been given this PPT, isn't it, Radhika? It is there on the. I mean, I think you must be. You must have been forwarded this PPT. Of course, you'll be getting it. Don't worry. So then, then what? Now I'll just go to the slideshow so that you can see this clearly, what I've taught you. Now after this, differentiated, I have given the example of cars, wherein you have top segment, middle segment and lower segment. So guys would be knowing it better. You have 3 segments in the car industry. So keypad mobiles for old people. Perfect, Satish. Very nice. That's a niche. So then obviously your strategy of going differentiated, your strategy of going undifferentiated, or going differentiated, or going concentrated, or going to a niche would depend on the type of product you are producing, right? What products are you going to give to that segment? So this will relate to your product. So that is why the generic products like toothpaste, I won't be able to write on this slideshow. Generic products like toothpaste, like your cement, like steel, salt, sugar, all generic provisions, you don't satisfy, because like there is no need to go in for differentiation. So then for differentiation, you need to customize, and you need to see that the customer's satisfaction is there. Because you are differentiating just because you want to satisfy the specific needs of the customer. Only that's the reason you went into differentiation. Otherwise, it would have been undifferentiated, because you don't want to understand what every segment is wanting. So if you want to understand what segment is wanting, then you will go in for undifferentiated. There is one, Janvi saying Nike is niche marketing. Why, Janvi? Nike is for all. Nike rather is having a very big segmentation, because many people would be wearing Nike. Nike, you're talking about shoes, I suppose, or the sportswear. So it's not a niche, no. Akshay is saying Maruti Suzuki car is a niche. No. How can it be a niche? Maruti Suzuki is for everyone. Anybody can buy Maruti Suzuki depending on the money they have. So niche is very, very specific. Number of people are very specific, very less. The who will be using. It's a very, very small segment. I mean, students have given very nice examples. For example, publishing braille books for blind students. It's very, very specific, and it's a very small. It's a niche. No company would like to go into it. So whosoever goes will have to have a very specific, will be possessing the specialized knowledge of making braille books and understanding the problems of blind students. Only then they'll be able to do this. So this is a niche, right? So you just can't say any product can come into niche. You have to identify whether that segment is very, very specific and very, very special. That's the way you can identify a niche. Ma'am, there is a pen option on the lower left corner to write on the PPT. I think so. Ria is advising me. Thank you, Ria. There it is. There's a pen color. Pen. Yes. Thank you so much. Oh, yes. So my work is done. Great. So that means, yeah, I had done these three. Now I'm coming on to distinctive competencies. So, yeah, your teacher is not that tech savvy, but thank you so much for telling me this. So distinctive competencies are basically how can you be distinctive on the basis of competencies. Here I was talking about USP, no? USP. U, S and P. This is unique selling proposition. This is very difficult to write. So unique selling proposition. So here you have to think about how are you unique from others? How are you different from others? Not in terms of features of product, but in terms of your competencies. How are you different from your competencies? Ma'am, Akshay is saying, ma'am, can we call Apple a niche? No, Akshay, you can't call Apple a niche because it is segmented on the basis of income or class. High class people or affluent people can afford Apple. So no, it's not a niche. It's an income segmentation, income basis segmentation. Diabetes medicine for diabetic patient is a niche market. Vimla, if the diabetics are too less, then to fine. But now every second, third person is a diabetic. So we can't take it in a niche because it's in the, I mean, if the diabetic people are less, then you can call it a niche. Meenakshi, niche for sugar-free products. Again, the same problem, depending on how many demographics, as to how many diabetic patients you have. In India, we have so many lifestyle diseases that now they are not niches. It's a big market. so many people are having diabetes. Had there been very few people with diabetes, then would have been like a niche. So it depends. I'm telling you, niche is a very small segment with specified needs, and it needs a little bit of specialization, right? So then Sonali is saying Apple Mobile. No, I've given the answer. Naina, niche is nano car. Again, Naina, it is, you are mixing segmentation. There is a proper basis of doing segmentation. You can segment on the basis of income, on the basis of class, on the basis of geography, on North Indian, South Indian, lower income class, upper middle, lower income class, upper middle income class, upper middle class. So whatever you are mentioning here are basically income segmentations. You can easily segment your market on the basis of income. But when I have given you very typical examples. For example, Western wear for fat women. So like how many women are fat and would they be wearing that Western wear, and how can you manufacture? You have to identify, understand, and then satisfy them with those particular products you are manufacturing for them. So they have to be a little unique, which is not common. And the segment is not very big. It's a very, very small segment. Only then it is called a niche. Nano car was based on the segmentation of price or income group. It was for lower income group. Those who wanted to had a scooter, the company tried to launch a car for them. So it's not a niche. Dikshit, Rolls-Royce Phantom. Is it a car or what? I know Rolls-Royce, but what is Phantom? Please just let me know, and then I'll tell you whether it is or not. Ria, pleasure is okay. Thank you so much, Ria. Janvi, Nike is niche marketing as they produce for sports persons only. Janvi is saying Nike is niche marketing as they, if you say that the sports wear they are producing, then that's fine. But if they're producing shoes for walking, then the segment would not be a niche. So if you're talking only about sportswear, yes. But then again, sports is not a niche, because it doesn't mean that only the persons who are actually playing sports at national level or state level would be wearing them. Even me and you can wear the Nike sportswear, isn't it? We are also in a segment. We can also be counted in this segment by the Nike people, can't we? So it's again not a niche. Radha, so product differentiation market is closely related one. Of course, product differentiation depends on market segmentation, Radha. If you are doing segmentation, and you decide that and it also depends on the type of product you are producing. If you are producing a generic product, you need not segment your market, because everybody would be using the same product. Standardization would depend. Undifferentiated also means standardization. You standardize your product for the whole of the market. You standardize, right? So when you standardize the product, so what you do, you produce the same product for the market, the whole market, right? So when it is for the whole market, you're not making any different features and all. So this standardization is like, if you think that we'll be just standardizing my cars, and I'll be selling the same car to everyone, then it is undifferentiated. And what were you asking? Product market segmentation? Yes, they are interlinked and they are closely related. Because depending on your segmentation, you will see whether you will be differentiating your product or you will not be differentiating your product. Radha, I'm clear? Yeah. Satish, bitter tasty food items for people. Bitter taste. I mean, you can say dark chocolate, which is very bitter you can say for some people, because everybody can't have. I mean, I think you're not getting my point. Niche is a very, very small segment, and entering into a segment or like that for big companies is not profitable, because they always want that the segment should be very profitable and very big. So that is why we call niche a very, very small segment, which the people think it is not profitable, right? So that way you have to see. Pallavi, products for of course, yes, Pallavi. This is a right example. Products for transgenders can be a niche. Right, Pallavi. Saikat, Horlicks made new products for over-aged women. Is it a niche? No, it is a age segmentation. Horlicks is doing age segmentation. It is also producing for overaged. It is also producing for middle-aged groups. It is also producing for young people. So it is a age-related segmentation. Mansha, Tata Nano is an example of cost leadership strategy. Yes. Let me come to the cost leadership. Mansha, you people are going before. You're people running. I am trailing behind. Yes. It is a cost leadership strategy. Naina, it's clear. Okay, that's great. Shilpa, ma'am, can you please point out some famous niche markets in our country? Shilpa, can you give me some time? Niche markets, niches are not markets. They are segments, right? I will let you know for sure. I'll just note it down because I have to just complete what I'm talking about. A lot of time we are spending on segmentation only, and it's like I have to cover much more. You talked about niche markets. Okay. So, then can you give a couple of more examples of niche markets and products to make us more? Of course, Sanjay, I'll do that. A Chennai doctor is providing human voice box at affordable price. Yeah, it can be a niche. Meenakshi, niche, three-wheeler motorcycle for differently. Yes, I told you for differently abled persons, your hearing aids or probably your very different glasses, these all would come under niche market. The raffle jets is a niche market. Yes, it can be. It is a niche market. Chocolates without milk or lactose. Absolutely, lactose intolerant people. This is something new which is coming up. People are now becoming lactose tolerant. So we have to see how much big the segment is. So it's a very small segment. The people who are very conscious, they have started understanding the lactose intolerance, and milk without lactose intolerance, milk without lactose, chocolates without lactose, all that this would come under niches. So I think you've got the answers. The ones who wanted more examples, you have differently abled example also. You have chocolate with lactose tolerant things also. Then niche can also be like health foods, health superfoods, because very few people would be buying those health superfoods. But can make it be said as a demographic segment? Sanjay, it is the basis of this is obviously demographic segment. But since transgender people are very less in number, nobody would like to cater to their needs because they are not profitable. So that is why we take them as a niche. Niche is a very, very small segment, right? So though the basis is demographic only, but what they require is might be entirely different from what others are requiring. So the basis is demographic, but in demographic, this is a niche which is not being taken care of. Not being provided services or goods by the normal organizations or by the normal people or by the normal businesses. So that is why they become niches. Organic foods, yes, Pradeep. Now, I think we should move forward. This is just the first, base only. We have to do many things. So then distinctive competencies are based on how efficient you are, what quality are you delivering, what innovation have you come out with, and what is the customer responsive. How is customer responding to your product? So all these four things together make your USP, and this quality thing is very important in this case. Innovation. Philips has taken this as their distinctive competencies. I've told you in the last class also. They have their advertising also, innovation and you. So they are trying to bring in new products like air fryer and, the ones we had never heard of air fryer. So it's a very good, electric device wherein you can eat the products without frying. It's a very nice innovation. So by this now Philips is trying to maintain its distinctive competencies as compared to its competitors, right? So in the business strategy, in this manner, when the business strategies are being made, the strategist has to see whether he will do the product differentiation, whether he'll go in for undifferentiated or whether he'll go in for concentrated, or what distinctive competencies would he gain so that he has a competitive advantage in his hands. So in this manner, the base of business strategy is built. On these three things, you have to frame your strategies. Now, business level strategies. So now when we say business level strategies, that means that the strategies are made at the SBU level. SBU level means strategic business unit level. I gave you the example of Godrej. So Godrej, yesterday I gave you the example of Godrej, and Godrej I told you was having around 8 to 10 types of different businesses. So for all these different businesses, IT, real estate, steel furniture, and then foods and all. So for all these, they would be requiring different business strategies. Main strategy of Godrej would be different. That would be the corporate strategy. And under corporate strategy, you would be having lot of business strategies. Every SBU, every strategic business unit would be having its own business strategy. So when you do the business strategy, I told you time and again, strategy means facing the competition. Strategy means how will you beat the competitors. Strategy means how will you establish yourself in front of the competitions and gain a target market. Strategy means how will you outshine your competitors. So basically, we are only thinking in terms of competition. So when we're thinking in competition, obviously business level strategies would also be made keeping in view the competition. So whichever industry is operating, it is operating in a business world where competition is existing, right? So every unit or every firm in an industry or every firm in an industry is operating in that particular industry and would be facing the competition that exists in that industry, isn't it? So it is in the midst of the competition. So whatever it frames for its business would be in relation to the competition. So that is why they have to frame competitive strategies. So different industries would be having different type of competition. So different industries would be demanding different kind of business level strategies. So that is why SBUs have different kind of strategies. Okay. So now how do you assess the competition? The problem is that the business level managers have to frame these strategies, isn't it? So when they have to frame these strategies, how will they do that? Is there anything which is there with which they can just do that? So the very important name is you must have already heard a lot about him, is Michael Porter. The whole strategy thing revolves around him only, because he's the one who talked about competition at length. He talked about competition. He talked about that competition is the one which can make a business, which can break a business. Competition is the one which the business has to face, right? So he was the one who identified this, that competition is very, very important if a company wants to succeed. He has to understand the company has to understand its competitive environment, its competitors, and how the company is going to face the competitors and the competition. So that is why competition is very, very important. So obviously when you are making a business level strategy and when you want to make a strategy for your business, you will see that in that industry how much competition is prevailing, how many competitors are there in the industry, what type of competition are they giving, and fully understand from where the competition can come, so that the company is ready to deal with that competition. Now, Porter gave a tool to assess this competition, and the competition is never same for all. It is different for different. But he gave a simple tool which is common to all, which can be understood by all the companies and industries and can be applied to all the industries easily. So he gave this tool because he identified 5 forces. He identified 5 forces. He said there are 5 forces, max to max 5 forces, which can operate in an environment and can deter you or give you a lot of competition. So as companies, you need to understand what type of competition can be there for you. What type of competition can you face max to max? So he said maximum 5 areas of competition exist in any type of industry, come what may. There are no more than 5 competitive forces which you need to understand, right? As a strategist. So what are those 5 pressures or competitive forces or competitive forces, I must say, or the areas which are there in the overall market? They are: number 1, you will be getting competition from the rival firms. That means the firm within the industry you're working. Right? If you're in IT industry, so every other company operating in that IT industry would be your competitor. So first thing is you have to understand the competition from the rival firm's point of view. How many rivals are there in the industry? Second competition force would come from new entrants. New entrants are the companies who want to enter this market. If you're in IT, any new company which is coming in that IT industry would be the new entrant, and obviously they will bring competition along with them. So another force would come with entrants from outside, who are entering inside. Then there'll be substitute products. They also give you a lot of competition. If you are unable to produce or deliver goods at right quality, right price, right time, if you're not able to do that, what will happen? Substitute will rope in. Substitute will come, right? They will say, okay, we are there, why don't you buy us? So this competition from substitute is another force. This is the third one. Fourth one is bargaining power of buyers. So buyers sometimes are very strong and they also give competition. Now how will they give competition? I'll explain you later. Bargaining power of sellers. Sellers also can be smart and big. They can also give a lot of pressure to you in terms of competition. Now, maximum these 5 things can put you under pressure in the form of competition. So this is known as Porter's 5 force analysis. What are the 5 forces that you need to analyze in order to understand the competition within an industry, right? If you are able to understand these 5 things, you will be able to manage them very well and you will be able to sustain and survive in a better manner because you are handling the competition in a very good manner. This is what Porter says. Okay. So Porter gave these 5 forces. Now, for us as businessmen, we need to understand, or strategists, we need to understand these various forces in detail. Okay. So the first one was rivalry within the existing firms. One more thing. The interaction amongst the 5 forces, all these 5 forces interact with each other and together they give a force, together they give competition to the industry in a particular environment, in a particular way. So you don't have to understand the other industry's competition. You have to understand only your competitors, the ones who are in your industry, or in the overall environment, which would be affecting you also, right? So you as a strategist need to understand this. So the first is the rivalry amongst the firms within a particular industry. Now, what are the forces within this? How do they give you the force? How do these rival firms give you the force? And how this force is exerted? This force is exerted because now, before I do this, you need to understand that what are the, okay, it's fine. You don't need to understand that way. So what you need to do is you need to understand what are the what are rivalry among the, I'll just get on to it. 1 minute. It's just gone. Rivalry among, so when there is rivalry among the firms within a particular industry. So when there is no clear leader in the industry, you know what, the rivalry will be intensive when there are more competitors, and rivalry will be less when there are less competitors. You agree to it? You agree to it now? So If there is intense rivalry, that industry will become less attractive for the new entrants. So that's a different thing. But you need to understand the intensity of rivalry would depend on the number of competitors existing in that industry. If there are more competitors, there will be more competition, intensity would be more. If there are less, intensity would be less, but not always. Maybe there are few competitors, but they are giving you a very, very intense competition. They are not letting you breathe. So that could also be the reason. But you have to understand the intensity of competition which is coming from the competitors as a strategist. So where would it be very, very intense? You need to understand. It would be very, very intense in the industry where there is no industry leader. Industry leader means every group of firms or everywhere you find, in a group you find a leader. Automatically, there is a leader. So what the others do, they follow the leader firm. Leader firm is more resourceful and it has more control over the market. So that is why whatever it decides, the other companies have to follow. If they don't follow, leader will take retaliation action. Okay, for example, Coke and Pepsi are two major beverages doing in aerated water industry. So now they have fixed at a price level which is say 10 per bottle. Now any other competitor which is small in size cannot give competition to if that competitor gives the aerated water at 8 rupees, what will Coke and Pepsi do? They will also come down to 8 rupees. So when these leaders, they try to control the market, and when they control the market, the competition remains in the intensity of the competition becomes less because they set the prices, they set the ball rolling in the market. So when there is a strong leader, there will be less of intensity of competition. But when there is no leader, the competition would be too intense. The rivalry between the firms would be too much. Okay. Then second is numerous competitors. If you have more competitors, we assume that there will be more competition. Obviously, more competitors, more competition, less competitors, less competition. But I gave you one line that there is possibility that even few competitors can give you a very, very intense competition. It's not always that more competitors only will give you. There are times when competitors are more, but they don't give you that much competition because maybe you are stronger than them. Then the rivals operate when the rival firms, they operate with fixed costs, high fixed costs, right? What they do is they try to maximize their capacity because they have spent a lot on fixed costs. So in that they try to produce more. They go in for price cutting. So in this manner, what happens? The competition becomes stronger. So especially in the industries where fixed costs are greater, the intensity of competition is greater. For example, airlines, telecommunications, your construction business, where money is put for years and the yields come after that, right? So fixed costs are great. Where the fixed costs are great, the competition there is very, very, very stringent because the company who has invested a lot would do everything to run on full capacity. So for that matter, the supplies would be greater. They would do, we were talking about airlines, I think, in the last class. Airlines is, what is airline doing? It is liquidation or this, that. Airlines is actually trying to cut costs because fixed costs are too much, and to cover those here it will fit in very well. To cut those costs, what are they trying to do? They're trying to do price cuts. They're giving you apex fares. They're giving you very less fares to travel. But that less fare is not covering their costs. So what are they doing? They're trying to take away the basic facilities, but base fare is and reduce the base fare. So in this manner, they're trying to catch more and more travelers. So when this kind of competition persists, rivalry between the firms is too big, too much. During this intensity, many of the firms get to wipe. So it happened with Kingfisher, no? And it is happening with many other airlines. Only one or two are doing well, right? So this is because of the fixed costs which are already there, and now you have to reap the returns of those fixed costs. Then high exit barriers in the industries. where the exit barriers are high. That means that the competitor, even if he wants, he cannot leave because exit barriers are very high. If he tries to leave, he will be left. It is very difficult for him to sell the assets, or it is very the firm is of no value if he tries to leave. So it is better he operates at very low profits also. So if this kind of a situation is there, that the exit barriers for the firms operating in an industry are very high. They, even if they want that they are earning very less profits and they are operating at very less costs, very high costs, even if they want, they cannot exist, then that rivalry will remain forever. They will not be able to come out of it. For example, airlines again. They have invested now. It is very difficult for them to come out of it. So that is why they are trying to just linger on. But obviously their lingering inside the industry is posing threats to the other competitors. Then product differentiation. Where there is differentiation, when you can differentiate in the industry, your product can be differentiated, your rival firms won't be able to compete. So the more the differentiation, the less would be the rivalry or the competition from the rivals. So where it is generic products, the rivalry would be, and the competition would be more. Then slow growth. Where the industries, where the growth is very slow, there will be intense rivalry, right? The industry, the competitors will give very fierce competition because it is a very slow growth and they have to remain in that industry and to survive and also to cut prices to just sustain. So these are the reasons why you get rivalry from the firms which are within a particular industry. Now the next force is the force from the new entrants. New entrants are the new firms who want to enter the industry. They are not there, but they try to enter. They want that they should also get into this industry. They should also get into this industry. So they try and get into it. And for a company which is operating in an industry, the feeling of threat is always there, that any new entrant can come and give a threat to him. So I'll just have water 1 second. I'm muting myself for 1 second. So this is a threat from the new entrants. The new what it comprises of is that a firm's profitability tends to be higher when the firms are blocked from entering the industry. If there is a high entry barrier that the firms from outside cannot enter the industry, then the internal companies are at a comfortable pace, at a peaceful position, because they know many of them would not be able to come inside. At least the force from outside or the competition from outside would not be there. But many a time, for that, what they do is they raise the barriers to entry. They raise the barriers in such a manner, in maybe due to prices, low prices, or whatever barrier they make, they try that nobody else can enter. Because if they will get new entries now and then the competition would keep on increasing and they will have to keep on understanding and facing the competition every now and then. So that is why what the companies do, they try that no other new company should enter the market, and they try to raise their entry barriers. Now, if the new entrants come, they will definitely reduce the industry profitability. The total profitability will be, shared. The more the companies, the profitability will be shared. So the profitability will go down, and people, and because there will be new production capacity, there will be new, the supply would be more. And that is why the companies operating already inside would be facing a lot of trouble and hassle. So that is why, to discover the new entrants, existing firms try to raise the barrier. This I've told you, so that the other firms get the hurdles and they do not enter the industry. Now, how can you do that? It is possible you can raise the entry barriers, or you can. It is possible for you to stop them from entering, because this is the force. So you have to stop them there only, because once they enter, they will give you competition. So how will you stop them at the entry level? How will you do this? I'll tell you. First, let me read what Sanjay is saying. When there is no leader, there could be an opportunity to form cartels amongst themselves and thus restrict competition than to be each other's rival. Sanjay, it depends on the firms. If they are ready to make cartels and beat the competition, cartels are not considered good, because they restrict the healthy competition, so they are considered good. But if they do that, they can do that. It is up to them. Of course, then they can restrict competition with competition between them, because now they have joined hands and they are not entering into rivalry with each other, and not giving competition to each other. Rather, they have joined together to reap a particular amount of profitability from the customers. So this is against the customers. This is against the healthy competition. So that is why cartels are not considered good. But of course, the companies can do so for restricting, combating the competition or not being rivals for each other. That's okay. So then next is capital requirement. The first one is capital requirement. Now, how can they raise the barriers is by capital requirement. In the industries where the capital requirement is too much, for example, the fixed cost thing, same thing is here. If the capital requirement is too much for a company to enter the industry, the firms who don't have money, don't have resources, won't be able to enter the market. So that entry barrier is based on the capital requirements also. If the capital requirements of an industry are less, new entries would come, new entrants would come very fast. But if the capital requirements is greater, then the new entrants would be restricted. The new entries would be restricted, because you require huge capitals for that. And if you are not resourceful, if you don't have too much of capital, you won't be able to enter that industry. So, for example, your airlines, your aerospace, your shipbuilding companies, they need lots and lots of money. So that is why very few big companies operate in these kinds of infrastructural companies. Second is economies of scale. Many industries, what they do, they are driven by the economies of scale. So when they are already enjoying economies of scale, because they have a lot of production capacities and they produce a lot and they sell a lot, and the economies of scale are operating, then what happens? They try to discourage new entrants, because they are having cost advantages. They can sell at less prices. So this kind of barrier is also put by the companies, which is in the terms of where the economies of scale have already started operating. So economies of scale start operating if the companies are there for very long. So if the companies are there for very long, they will always be reaping those economies of scale, which new entrant would not be able to obtain, and that is why the barrier is there, and they are unable, even if they enter, they cannot give you much competition, because you are always reaping certain advantages of economies of scale. Second is writing, at present capital requirement is industry is processor manufacturer like Intel and AMD. Yes, capital requirement is basically the amount of capital you require per second. So if it is too much, so then the companies who is trying to enter that industry should be capable of coming with that kind of capital requirement. So, of course, processing, manufacturing, if I'm right, processor manufacturing, what does it mean? I am unable to understand. But Intel, you are saying, yes, wherever there is processing required, wherever there is manufacturing required, wherever there is construction required, it depends wherever, for example, in the case of shipbuilding. So you have to make a ship, right? So the capital requirement would be too much in that industry. So the companies who are very big and already working in that in that industry would be doing it, and the new entrants would take time and would not like to enter because the investment is too large, and the returns which they can get will be coming after some years. So that they are the entry barriers. Okay. So then the product differentiation, I will not explain it. The more the product differentiation, the more the product is differentiated, the new entrants would not be able to give you much competition, because you already have a differentiation in your product which your competitor is unable to match. Even if that entrant comes, that company would not be able to give you competition. Then the switching costs. Basically, what they try to do in the industry, that they try to build these barriers in such a manner that the new firms are unable to enter the industry. So it can be done on the basis of these things. Then switching costs. In case in an industry the switching cost is too much. For example, and switching cost means the cost of switching to buyers. For example, if a hospital wishes to change an MRI machine, so that means he wants to switch to some other machine. Now, for switching to to other machine, this hospital will have to undertake a lot of work, buying the machine, which would take another 6 months, making a panel, getting the technicians to understand, then operating procedures of that machine would be different, then the space required would be different, then the people operating will have to be given training because you're getting a new MRI machine. So for switching from one machine to another, the hospital might have to incur a lot more other expenses also, which are known as switching costs. Right? So these switching costs, customers are not readily, they don't want to pay readily. So that is a big entry barrier for the new entrants. Because when a new entrant comes with a new product or new differentiated product or with a new brand of product, would the customer be ready to pay the switching costs? So switching cost means that the buyer might have to incur substantial costs in switching between the firms. He is switching from one brand to another. In this switching process, the company, the buyer might have to undertake a lot of, stress in terms of costs as well as in terms of effort. So if that switching cost is too much, then the new entrant will not try to enter, because he knows that the switching cost is too high and the customers would not be doing this. So, that is why Satish is saying in oligopoly market new entrants are less. Yes, in oligopoly it's less. Naina, best example can be of airlines. Yes, Naina, airlines is also one example, but there are many other examples where these things can happen, and you can try and stop your new entrants to enter the industry. Then there is brand identity. What happens is when a company is operating in an industry for a long period of time, it creates its brand identity. Brand identity is not brand loyalty. Brand identity is identification of brand. Identifiable brand. Now I'll ask you one thing. There are switching cost and opportunity cost is the same. Switching cost and opportunity costs are not same. Switching cost is basically to the customer, and this cost involves the pain and the money that customer will have to pay for leaving one brand of product and going on to the other brand of product. Soumya, Colgate switching between different age of customer. Colgate switching between age of customer. Soumya, I think I'm not making things clear. When I'm talking about threats of new entrants, right? I'm saying, I as firm, okay Shilpa, I'll explain switching cost once again. First I'll answer Soumya. Soumya, what I'm trying to explain is that when I'm in an industry, 5 type of forces try to build pressure on me and give me competition. So what I will try to do, I will try to avoid all these 5 forces. I will try that these forces do not come into my industry at all. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'll try to do. The first force was the rivalry within the existing firms. So I told you what are the points by which you can just try to dissuade the rivals. And sometimes you try to dissuade, but the conditions are such that the rivalry does exist. It is not in your hands now. You can just try the things which are in your hands. The things which are not in your hands will definitely make the competition come to you. Okay. So what happens? Second was threat of the new entrants. Now, what will the existing firm do? The firm which is already in the industry, what will it do? It will try to avoid and say that the new entries should not come to the market. This is what it should try to say now, isn't it? You are confusing. Colgate switching between different age of customer is, you are saying that Colgate is going to different segments. We are not talking about company going to segments. We are talking about one firm. No, the firms within one industry, for example, 10 firms within one industry would not like 11th firm to come into the industry, isn't it? Because if the 11th firm comes, the one firm which is getting competition from 9 now will start getting competition from 10 firms now. So it would not like another firm to come and give it competition. So this is what it is all about. That you have to understand where from the competition will come, and then try to see that this competitor does not enter the market. You try every effort to raise the entry barrier, that they do not come inside. But it is not in your hands always. It is not in your hands. Sometimes it will happen that they will enter and give you competition. It depends on the situation to situation. Now, the first situation I told you was that capital requirement. If in an industry the capital requirements is more, what will happen? The entrants will not enter. They will not go in for this much of a capital requirement, and if they don't have, they will not enter. So this is a very big entry barrier. If the capital requirements are more, the companies will not enter. If the capital requirements are less, the companies will enter. Similarly, if economies of scale have started operating, even if the companies come inside, you are at an enjoyable position because you have started enjoying the economies of scale, and you will not be much affected by the new entry. Third is product differentiation. If there is a product differentiation, you have a very, very good product differentiation in your products, or you have certain unique propositions in your product, anybody can come, you don't bother. So the new entrant will not bother you if you have product differentiation. But if your product is generic, there is no differentiation, then any entry into the market, new entry, will give you competition, and it will be difficult for you. Then is switching costs, which is creating a problem. Shilpa is saying, explain. Switching cost means, I gave you the example that in a hospital, there is an MRI machine already existing. Now what happens? A new MRI machine with a new technology comes in the market. Now the hospital, if wants to go in for new MRI machine, the old is getting the competition. Now the hospital will calculate the switching costs. That means if I replace this with the other one, how much more cost would I be incurring? And how much more pain would I be incurring? How much work more I'll have to, additional work will come on to me. For example, they will have to maybe train new staff for the new MRI machine. They will have to probably understand the working of the new machine because it is technologically better now. They might have to train their doctors to use the machine, technicians they might have to have a new place for that MRI machine because the existing place is not sufficient for the MRI machine. So these are the switching costs. And is the buyer ready to pay these switching costs? So if the switching costs are high, then the new entrant who is bringing a new technology in the product or whatever, they will not get buyers because buyers are at a comfortable position. Why should I move? If the value delivered is same of the product, why should I take so much of hassle? So let this MRI machine work. If new MRI machine and this MRI machine are similar at work, why should I switch? Why should I go in for new product? Why should I go for a product which a new company is offering me? Is it clear, Shilpa, now? Is it clear? Shilpa? Okay. Till the time Shilpa writes yes, I'll take up Isha's call. Isha says, like Maggi is brand name, but we use it for other instant noodles also. So what are you asking, Isha? Isha, when we do this, this is known as branding. This is known as, like the power of brand. Maggi has made itself so powerful that any noodle is named as Maggi. For example, we say Xerox. We'll get the paper Xeroxed. Xerox is not that. We get the paper photocopied. Xerox is the brand name of the machine which was used to photocopy. So this is the brand power. You build your brand to such an extent. Maybe you're talking about identifiable brand. No, it is not identifiable. Identifiable is basically you can identify, okay, this is the brand and this is the product. What you are talking about, Maggi, is the brand power. It is such a power that it becomes a generic name for all the noodles. You say Maggi for everything. So this is the power of the brand. Shilpa is clear, very good. Satish, software mobiles will have high switching costs. Absolutely. Absolutely, Satish. And we have to weigh the value. If the value delivered by the new product is greater, we might go in for switching the product. But if the value delivered is not good, then we won't be switching. So, Isha, what you are talking is very different and very nice also. It's nice. Satish is saying surf. Now, I'll tell you what is just wait. I'll tell you what is brand identity. Brand identity is simply identification of brand, not the brand power. You say Surf, okay, Surf is a brand of washing powder. This is identifiable. Okay. Then you have heard of Maruti cars? Say yes fast. How many of you have heard of Maruti cars? Guys, Maruti cars. Number 1, heard of Maruti cars. Number 2, heard of Maruti oil. First, yes or no, 1, 2, right? 1, 2. Maruti car, Maruti oil. Maruti car. How many of you heard? Say yes. And have you heard of Maruti oil? Madhu says, for switching a machine in firm, we are creating some more expensive, irrespective of what I think that is switch cost. Am I right? Madhu, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Saket has heard about Maruti car, but not about Maruti oil. Satish has heard about Maruti car, but not about Maruti oil. Sanjay has heard about both. Wow. Anybody else? Fast, guys. So, I'll say it later on. So, when we say that we have heard of this brand, that is brand is identifiable. You are identifying with the brand. You know that the brand is existing. When you say no, like Satish and Saikat said no for Maruti oil, So that means this brand does not have brand identity. So major brands, big brands, they do have brand identity. So if you have a brand identity, the new entrant who's not having a brand identity would not be able to give you competition. So it depends whether the new company is also having a big brand identity. If it is having a big brand identity, it will give you more competition. If it is not, then it will not give you competition. So that it's so nice that Sanjay has heard of it. So I thought nobody must be knowing about it, but yes. So then access to distribution channels. So when you are there in a market, you have control over the distribution channels also. So the new entrant would not be having that much of control on the distribution channel. So what happens, for example, HUL, PNG and FMCG would have a complete control of the networks. So any new entrant would be having difficulty in having a big network of distribution channels. So this also poses a very big barrier for their entry, and the people will not try and enter. Then possibility of aggressive retaliation. When a new firm wants to enter into an industry where there are many firms already existing, then that new firm will face a lot of retaliation from the firms which are already in the industry, because they want that this firm should not come. So they would try every kind of, retaliation. Price, they might reduce price, they might do whatever they want to, just to avoid the entry of that, just to not to let that entry, not to let them enter the industry. So this is aggressive retaliation. So this all existing firms will try to do, so that the new entrant does not come, and it even if it comes, it goes back. So Madhu is also only heard of Maruti cars. So I've already handled that. So this is the second force. Third force is bargaining power of the buyers. What happens? Your buyers can also give you pressure and competition, because buyers are nowadays having full knowledge and are aware. So if you have small buyers, doesn't matter. But when you have big buyers, then it matters, because then they will start dictating terms on you. Who are big buyers? Because big buyers are few in number and they are concentrated. They are concentrated they are concentrated, they are very few, and they are few in number, and they dictate a lot. For example, if you see that you see these stores which are very famous. For example, your Reliance, not Reliance Digital. For example, you have Emporio. So you want to put your product in DLF Emporio. I don't know how many of you would be knowing Emporio. I will not give this example. Satish is saying, but Patanjali had created its own distribution channels. Satish, when a firm can have its own distribution channel, they don't have their own distribution channel, they have a network. They are selling through retailers and wholesalers, and it's a normal distribution channel system. But Patanjali was able to do it because Patanjali had a big support of some business houses. So already existing big business houses, I presume. So that is why Patanjali could do it. It depends on how resourceful that company is. So Patanjali was probably being backed by big business houses. So that is why it could establish. Had there been no backing, Patanjali would not have been able to take off so fast and so easily. Right? So that is the reason it could do it, because it was being given support from some big houses. Otherwise, it was not possible for Patanjali. So then the big buyers are, how will I tell you? The big buyers are, like for example, there's a Spar Market, right? Spar Market is a retail chain. Walmart, you have heard of? Walmart. Walmart is a chain, retail chain. So it's a very famous retail chain, and when you want to put your product in the stores of Walmart, then Walmart as a buyer will have will have a lot of power exertion in the agreement you make between you and your buyer. So sometimes when the buyers are very big and they buy a lot, they exert a lot of pressure on the manufacturer, and they dictate terms and they buy the product on their own terms. So this is also a threat or a very big pressure, right? Or the force. Then again, there is power of suppliers also. Sometimes suppliers also exert a lot of power. Sometimes the buyer is big, sometimes the supplier is big. For example, Microsoft software delivers software, so it's a very big supplier. So it will give its supplies on its own terms. It might give, it might not give. It will give it at whatever price it wants, right? So this now supplier becomes very stronger. So the agreement between buyer and seller depends upon who is more strong, the buyer or the seller. Okay. So when the buyers or the seller or the suppliers are few or concentrated in numbers, they also exert pressure on the firms. And the firms have to succumb to their pressures, agree to their terms, and make agreement according to their own, make agreement according to their convenience. So manufacturer will have very less role. Then there is threat from substitutes. There are forces like substitutes. Substitutes are available. If you are working in a firm, if you're in a firm and you don't deliver the product at right time, right place, and when the consumer wants it, then they will just shift to the substitutes. So easy availability and accessibility of substitutes is a very big reason, and it puts a lot of force on the companies who are producing and selling something. Brand here does not matter. It will work only if branding does not matter. If the branding matters, if you're brand loyal, then the threat of substitutes is not there. But in the products where there is no brand loyalty, substitutes, the threat of substitutes is very important, and it puts a lot of force. And where the buyer is price sensitive, because whenever the buyer is price sensitive and he or she finds a product priced or a substitute priced less than what he or she used to buy, he or she will immediately shift to that substitute, because they are price sensitive and they will go where the price is less. So if the substitutes are offered at a lesser price, then there will be a threat to the manufacturers. Satish is asking, is DMart also a big buyer? Yes, DMart is also a big buyer, Satish. Big retail chains are all big buyers, because every producer would like to have a shelf space in the shelf space in big retail chains, because big retail chains draw a lot of footfall. A lot of people go there, and getting a shelf space in big retail houses is a big thing for the manufacturers. Now, these were the 5 forces which Michael Porter identified. Now, after this, I'll just take a break of 5 minutes before I start the next thing, because then I'll have to break in between. So I'll just come after 5 minutes. Until then, if I can give you something to do, let me see. Answer this till the time I come back. So guys, I'm back again. So I'll see what have you answered. Vimla, all of the above. Vimla, you're correct. Sanjay, second and third. No, it's all. Madhu, all above the above. Good. And Shivani, all of the above. Perfect. So the answer is D or number 4, all of the above. So we did all the 5 forces. Yeah. So we understood that in an industry, the firm has to face 5 forces, and we tried to understand the entry barrier things, and how the companies, what they do is they try to debar the new entrants by raising the entry barriers, and they try and make all the effort that these and they make all the effort that the new entries do not come. But then there are situations when the new entries do come and pose threat to the firms already existing. Okay. Now, after this, I'll talk about what are the business level strategies as given by Michael Porter. Michael Porter only told you that there are 5 kind of forces. Then he comes up with the fact that at business level, there are certain generic strategies which the companies can follow. And if they can, generic strategies these companies can follow, and these strategies are made at strategic business level, unit levels, and these have been suggested by Porter. So the Porter says that concerned with the firm's position vis-a-vis its competitors and taking into account the 5 forces of competition, one can analyze one's firm on the basis of knowledge of the customer, knowledge of the market, and building core competence to deliver the value to the customers. So what happens is that he says that in case you want to analyze yourself in relation to your competitors, then you need to have a very strong knowledge of the customer, then you need to have a very strong knowledge of the market, and then you have to build core competencies to deliver value. You have to build core competencies also to deliver value, and only then you can have your position vis-a-vis competitors very, very strong. Now, this has been done. Now, what are the Michael Porter's generic strategies? What is he talking about when he says that I suggest certain generic strategies? Generic strategies means the strategies which are applicable to all the industries, and the strategies which are applicable to all the industries, and every company can use these strategies. So he has given certain generic strategies which can be used by all the firms, and these are of 3 types: cost leadership, differentiation, and focused, right? And in focused strategies. So in focused, we have focused cost leadership and focused differentiation. This also has 2 in itself: focused cost leadership and focused differentiation. Now, these things, this focused and everything is based on a little bit on my segmentation. That is why I made you understand segmentation first, and now I'm talking about this. So what happens is, when a company goes in for cost leadership, it tries to reduce the costs. 1 second. Yeah. So cost leadership strategy is that by doing what the company does is that it tries to reduce the cost and sell the product at a reduced price, but at a very but the quality is reasonable, prices are reasonable, and quality is okay. Just a minute, let me see. There are certain questions. Bimla is right, Sanjay is right, Madhu is right, Simani is right, Janvi is also right. But you said brand identity is not brand loyalty. One of the options given in was brand loyalty, and one of the threat is brand identity. That's why I answered O. You got confused? Okay, no problem, Sanjay. Sometimes even brand loyalty can also be considered as Okay, what I'll do is, I would apologize for that, but you can use brand identity and loyalty both for raising entry barriers. Both, because even if you have brand loyalty, then also the entrants would not be able to enter. Even though they enter, they'll not be able to give you competition because you have very loyal brands. So it was given deliberately to confuse, but you got stuck between brand loyalty and brand identity. But it's a good observation. Brand loyalty can also be used and brand identity can also be used. So it's okay, Sanjay, you have got it right. I got your point, what you're trying to make, but you have to somewhere use your, because you know that answer cannot be two, na? Answer has to be one. So you have to use a little bit of apply your mind in that sense also. Sometimes the answers are given this way also to confuse you. So brand loyalty and brand identity, if you think, both can pose, entry level barriers. So that is why. Does oligopoly has the highest bargaining power? Vimla, oligopoly what? Oligopoly firms. Oligopoly in itself cannot have a bargaining power. Just be clear with your question, please. So, cost leadership strategy, which means that what you do in cost leadership strategy is that you try, when a company goes in for a cost leadership strategy, it tries to produce everything, all the goods and services at a cost which is lower than their competitors. They produce at a cost which is less than their competitors. That means they give serve goods and services of a decent quality, which are equally matching their competitors, but they give it at a lower price. So why do these the company can decide to become a cost leader and say, okay, I am going to produce products at a lesser cost and I'll give the quality which is quality that is according to the I'll be giving the quality that is equal to the that of the competitors. So when the company decides they want to become a cost leader, then what will they do? Why they decided? Because they want to make profits of its cost advantage, because they are giving it at a less price. So this cost advantage they want to use for making high profits. Or when they think that the rivalry in the industry is too much, and the companies, then what can they do? They can do just price cutting. So they start cutting on price and try to become the cost leader. Cost leader is the one who gives the best price. So so that they can withstand the competition and sustain themselves. So what they do price cuts. If you see today, all the companies are going in for price cuts because there is no other way to sustain. So price cutting is really, really very prevalent because of the reason that you cannot survive without giving less price products. So but the one who gives the least of all is the cost leader. So how can a person become a cost leader? I'll just tell you how can a customer become a cost leader is that he can become a cost leader by way of product, by way of market, or by way of distinctive competencies. So three ways of becoming: either the product sold is given at a lesser price, or he taps more market and gives it at a lesser price, or there are distinctive competency choices. So this is the way they can become cost leaders. So cost leader, what does he do? He chooses low level of differentiation because they don't want to differentiate. From product point of view, what will they do? They will not differentiate because differentiation means more cost. So they will standardize the product. They will do very less of differentiation, and they do not try to become the industry leader. They try to stay back, cut cost, and go slow. They don't want to be in the lead and doing things which are very which are very aggressive. And they don't do segmentation because segmentation means more costs. So if you don't do segmentation, it is less cost. Or even if they do the segmentation, it is very, very limited. So obviously when they are not segmenting, they are giving only standardized products. Then what happens? Their customers are not very satisfied. They don't have a highly satisfied customers. but they have customers. The customers hold on to them because of the price, because of less price, not because of the quality or the satisfaction, but because of the price factor. Kristen is asking, Ratan Tata has achieved cost leader. Kristen, it is not the person who becomes a cost leader, it is the organization which becomes the cost leader. When Tata tried to bring out Nano, it tried to become a cost leader in the sense giving a product at a very less cost, but it did not succeed. The company is a price leader, not a person. Okay, Kristen? So, then what happens? They don't do the segmentation. Obviously, they don't have highly satisfied customers, but lower prices of theirs attract the customers. For example, you have Reliance Fresh, Chroma, Spar, all these markets. What they do is they operate on low cost. They give products at low cost, and they are the cost leaders. So cost leaders normally ignore the market segment and they position it to the average customer. You know what? They don't say that we will give the product to this category, high income, low income. They just give the product to an average category. The masses. They cater to masses. They cater to large number of people. So what happens in case of cost leadership strategy? They underprice and they gain market share. They lower the price, they do cost cutting. They resort to integration strategies, they share costs because they try every damn thing to cut their costs. Be it co-working spaces, be it shared knowledge, be it whatever they can do, they try and cut their costs in every possible manner. And their strategy choices are product differentiation is low, market segmentation is negligible, and distincting competition is to increase the efficiency so as the cost is lowered, right? So that is cost leadership strategy. Now, you can, yes, then it is that a low cost strategy usually implies that there are tight production controls and rigorous use of budgets. You use lots of budgets and production controls because you want to put a control on the production processes, you want to put a control on marketing activities, everywhere you try to cut costs. So that is why you control every activity of the organization. So why many Indian and American companies got their products assembled and manufactured in China? The reason was because they wanted to become cost leaders. So you cannot become cost leaders if you produce in countries where the cost of production is high, where the wage cost is high, where the labor cost is high. So everything was cheaply available in China. So that is why most of the companies, they've shifted their manufacturing to China because there they were getting it at a lesser price and they could easily become the cost leaders. So many were, and when many of the companies shifted, the others shifted because they had shifted. So otherwise they could not compete. So that is why a lot of manufacturing went to China. So is Geo cost leadership strategy, madam? Geo used cost. Yes, Satish, very good example because they gave the SIMs free and they gave very low cost data and everything. Absolutely right. They made, because Reliance is very resourceful. They use their own internal resources to become a cost leader. Vimla, Jio can be cost leader because initially, yes, free internet, perfect. Madhu, Jio is cost leader. Am I right? Yes, Madhu, you're right. So everything comes down to Jio. So differentiation. Now coming on to the differentiation strategy, what is differentiation strategy is that I have told you about the product differentiation. So even the cost leadership strategies for the masses. You make a product, you make a standardized product for large number of people. Differentiation is you make a product for different segments of people. You study the people, you study the groups of people, and you try to identify what various products can you give to various groups of people. So different strategies aims at broad mass market. You aim at a big market, but in that big market, you give variants to different people, the segmentation kind of a thing. And then what do is you involve creation of product with uniqueness. For example, toothpaste is being sold to mass market, big market, but then these toothpastes are sold in variant forms with their uniqueness to separate segments. So this is differentiation strategy. So it requires careful study of buyer's needs because you're segmenting and you're trying to catering to the needs of that particular segment. So you do the careful study of the buyer's needs. This strategy helps to charge high because you are giving a differentiated product. You are catering to a specific need of the specific group. Again, there's a group. You're not giving it to a particular customer. You're grouping it a group in a mass market, and then you gain loyalty because of the differentiated features and the loyalty attached to them. And you have to make sure that this differentiation is not copyable. Okay, so this differentiation means that you should understand that your product or service is perceived to be unique by customers in some important way. That means your good or services is perceived to be, only then it will be differentiated and accepted if you feel that that product is perceived by the customers as very unique and very nice. So if it is unique and nice, the people will be ready to pay some premium also. They will be paying little more price for that also. For example, a car with an open roof. So a car with an open roof will be priced more than the car without an open roof, right? So this particular new feature, which is giving uniqueness to that car, then the company can charge a lot of money more also, because any interested buyer would buy it irrespective of the amount, right? So that means in differentiation, what you try to do is you try to outperform your competitors, and you try to gain above average profits. You try to outperform, you try to price more because of the differentiation and uniqueness, and then to try to earn more profits. Product is priced on the basis of what market will bear. So product is priced. What is the product price? It is priced on the basis of what the customer is ready to pay. Because customers, if are happy and if they want that something unique is coming to me, they will pay a higher price. Now, what higher price they will pay? Only that can be charged. So there is no problem of pricing, because if you are giving something new to a high income group, you can charge anything. So, for example, Mercedes cars are expensive in US than in Europe, because in US Mercedes is given more status than in Europe. Europe Mercedes are not considered very status symbol kind of thing, but in US it is. So in US it is sold at more price as compared to in Europe, right? So in Europe it is Tesla which is considered more status kind of a car. So this is how you price your product also, according to the geography and according to the geographical markets. So you have to be careful. How do you price them, and in what market are you pricing them? So that means whenever the customers think that the product is having some unique qualities and due to the differentiation in them, and then they are ready to pay a price for them, then it is known as differentiation strategy. All the luxury goods are based on differentiation strategy. I mean, for example, Rolex watches are being sold at a very high price because BMW, Louis Vuitton, all these are sold at a high price because they claim that they have something which is not unique, which is unique to them, and no other brand in the world can match that uniqueness. So that is why they're charging premium, a lot of premium on these watches. So strategic choices are: in product differentiation, quality is very important. You have to give very good quality because you're saying I'm differentiating my product. So you have to give a very good quality. And for example, Dove soap says, I have 1/4 moisturizer in me, which no other soap claims. So that uniqueness is there in only Dove, and it claims that. So jewelers can claim quality in jewelry. Service quality can be there in case of services. So you have to either you give service quality or you do give good product quality. Then innovation is very important. You can differentiate through innovations also. So innovation is generally in the case of technological products. I've already explained Philips and all. And then there can be state-of-art cars, there can be state-of-art computers, air fryer. These are all innovative products. Then customer responsiveness. That is also very important in the case of differentiation, because if the customer is not responding to your differentiation is useless. Because differentiation also costs you more. You are producing different variants for different segments. Instead, you have to produce one for all, but you're not doing that. In the whole market, you are producing four different variants, and you're giving it to four segments, right? So when you're giving it to four segments, you are also incurring more costs. So your customer responsiveness is very important. That means how the customers are responding to your differentiated product. What are the quality and service attributes you're giving, and are they acceptable to the customers? For example, lawyers, doctors, they have certain attributes. So why do you go to a particular doctor? Because he gives this kind of service, that differentiated service he is giving, and that is why you are going to him. So that's the service quality and the customer responsiveness to that service quality. So what I mean to say is that the strategy choices is that you can maintain your quality, you can innovate, and you have to see that there is customer responsiveness to whatever you're producing. So this is known as differentiation strategy. You can differentiate on the basis of this. There is one question. Meenakshi is saying differentiation, iPhone, MacBook with iOS. Yes. Yes, Meenakshi. Perfect. This is a differentiation, and it is very, very acceptable to the consumers also. Customer responsiveness is also there, innovation is also there, and quality is also there. So you are meeting all these things. In these three ways, you can make your strategy differentiate. You can go in for a differentiated strategy in a market, right? So now, I'll come on to... the basis of differentiation can be product, I've told you. It can be pricing also. You can differentiate your product on the basis of prices also. That means either you give reasonable quality at less price, or you give high quality at high price, right? This also you can strategize. Even organizations can be strategized. You can have organization differentiation also. For example, ICAI has its Indian Institute of Chartered Accountants is different. Whatever it is delivering is different than what the other institutes handling CAs is delivering. So some kind of differentiation an institute can deliver and make itself different. For example, IIMs, IITs, they all are differentiated institutes. They have something different which is not there in other institutes, and that is why they are very well known and they are very well placed, right? So these institutes can also differentiate themselves. That is majorly based on store loyalty. For example, Bata, Liberty, Chroma. Why do you go to Bata? Why do you go to Liberty? Why do you go to Chroma store? Why do you want to go to IIMs? Why do you want to go to IITs? Why do you go to Max Hospital? Why do you want to go to because there are certain differentiated services or products that the organization is offering. Okay. So any kind of differentiation, 24/7 helpline, iPhone has an exchange policy that if something goes wrong, they give you a new phone. Many kind of differentiated strategies can be used for mass marketing, for masses, right? So you can also differentiate products on the basis of customer psychological desires. But that is prestige, all luxury items on the basis of prestige and status. On the basis of prestige and status, you can appeal to the customer psychological desires and try to differentiate. For example, if a person is carrying a Louis Vuitton bag, that means something is different. Now, what is that difference? Only that customer's psychology is there. Otherwise, bag is a bag. The material, how expensive can the material be? But that is charged at a very high price, though the manufacturing cost is very low. But why it is able to call it? Because it is catering to the psychological instincts of a person, which are related to prestige and status. So that is why this kind of differentiation also works. So differentiation can be done at as many dimensions as possible. The more dimensions you create, the more different you will become. So but if the differentiation is also done and the cost is also kept under control, nothing to beat. You are giving differentiation also and cutting costs also. That's a very good strategy. And I feel Chinese products are the cost leaders. Chinese companies are the cost leaders. They are delivering good quality products at reasonable prices, and that is why they are acceptable everywhere. But of course, now the things are a little different. I would not comment on that. But yes, previously it was like that. That if you differentiate and keep the costs low, so obviously the customers would be very happy that he's getting a good quality and the cost is also not very good. So what the end result in differentiation is that if you want to follow a differentiation strategy as a firm, you have tangible attributes to differentiate and you have intangible attributes to differentiate. Tangible attributes can be copied, whereas intangible attributes are difficult to copy. For example, formula of Coke manufacturing. So nobody on earth can know how the Coke is manufactured because that formula is with Coke. So that is an intangible attribute of differentiation, and Coke tastes different from other drinks. So that is the typical differentiation strategy of Coke, which is not at all copyable. So this is intangible. Even tanginess of Fanta. The tanginess which is there in Fanta might never come in any other aerated drink because that has a particular taste. So this particular taste is intangible, is not copyable. So differentiation is copyable only in case of tangible attributes, but in case of intangible attributes, differentiation is not. Sorry guys. Differentiation is not copyable. So Lakshay is posed a question. Let me see. Ma'am, Nokia decided to remain window, not Android, but it failed. So it will not be called a product differentiation. Lakshay, you cannot relate it to product differentiation, but you can relate it to related to the fact that Nokia did not respond to what the environment is wanting and what is required of it in the environment. So it did not analyze the environment and see where the demand is going, what the people are wanting, what new is coming into the market, how the competitors are giving it's so much of competition by bringing new models, new styles. Otherwise, Nokia was a very sturdy phone. But it just went away because it could not analyze the environmental threats that were coming its way. So when it decided to remain Windows and not Android, it was the disaster which it committed. Like it should have tried to go with the flow and try to see what the environment and what the customers and what the fashion, what the market is demanding. So you just can't do whatever you feel like in a market. You have to go with the flow. You have to understand the market. You have to understand the strengths of yours. You have to match them with the opportunities. And then you have to see that where the threats coming from. So probably it could not analyze the environmental issues, and that is why it failed. And this decision of it being remaining window maybe was the it was not good, not a good decision. So it has nothing to do with the product differentiation. What it has to do with the failure to analyze the environment. Okay, Lakshya? Rohan, Tata Memorial at Mumbai is niche marketing. What is Tata Memorial, Rohan? Can you please just write? What are you talking about? Tata Memorial Hospital are you talking about? So, now after that, after differentiation, we have focused industry, focused strategy, but I'll just do the basis of differentiation. How can you differentiate? On the basis of product, I've told you. On the basis of prices, I've told you. On the basis of organization, I've told you. Brand image, luxurious good store, hospital, the standards which they have to follow, restaurants, the standards which they have to follow. So on these basis, you can frame your differentiation strategies for your organization. Now the next is a focus strategy, but before I do the focus strategy, I would like you to read this and answer these questions. So I'll give you 5 minutes, read this and answer these questions. हाँ जी, ब्रेक नहीं है, मैंने वो उनको क्वेश्चन दिया करने के लिए 5 मिनट, ठीक है? ओके, यस रोहन, टाटा मेमोरियल हॉस्पिटल you're talking about. Tata Memorial Hospital is basically, it's not a niche. It's a hospital, and it can cater to, probably it is a specialized hospital for special disease. So it depends on how much the demographics of the disease. So it is not a niche. It's a segment. Niche is a very, very small segment. So guys, this is the case. Or what you can do is you can click a picture of this caselet and prepare answers for of this caselet, and probably we can discuss in the next class before I start off, so that you can think about them and you can write answers. You can think and then you can write the answers in the chat box, because otherwise it will take more time and I have to complete focus strategies also. So just tell me, do you want to take this or you want to do it in the class itself? So I'll read the case study for you. In the global commercial jet aircraft industry, there are only three major players: airline industry, Boeing and McDonnell Douglas. The first two players are established in the aircraft industry, and the third one, McDonnell is trying to establish. McDonnell is wanting to spend around 1.5 billion as development cost of a wide-body jetliner MD-11, and calculated that the development cost of another jetliner MD-12 that will compete with Boeing in future would amount to 5 billion. So given such enormous development costs, McDonald's will have to sell between 200 to 500 aircrafts to break even, and 10 to 14 years of production to break even. So is this the case barrier? Yes. Capital requirements. You give me the answers. Is this worthwhile for McDonald to enter the market? Vimla, you're on the right track. Not much worthwhile, needs huge money and have no experience in these field. Also takes huge time to break even point. Saikat, it's nice. Okay, you do it in the class only. Okay. Sanjay, is not worthwhile to enter due to the threat of switching costs, brand loyalty, etc. Existing companies have an advantage of brand loyalty and switching costs. Very nice. Angada, capital requirements, fixed costs, switching costs as well. Yeah, you people are really understood and you're writing it nicely. I'll explain. This is what actually I'm going to say again. Is it worthwhile for no, it is not worthwhile for McDonald's to enter the market because of the high entry barriers. The high entry barriers are the capital requirements and the time to break even. And then the time of the lag period of getting the results back. So that is why it is not advisable for McDonald's to enter the market. You have to write it in 4 or 5 lines. What could be the entry barriers? The entry barriers could be the capital requirements because the development cost is too much. The capital requirements because the development cost is too much and development cost is too much and there's a lot of investment which is required. And then the next is the switching cost. Because if some company is wanting to change the plane, it will cost a lot to that company. So switching cost would be another entry barrier, and then brand identity would be another entry barrier because the people who are already using a particular brand of aircrafts, they would not like to easily switch to McDonald's, and then that's the major entry barriers. And the aggressive retaliation also that could come from the other two companies who are already operating in the industry. So that should also be taken into account. So what type of advantages do you think the existing companies might be already enjoying? The existing company might already be enjoying would be the brand identity, the brand identity, the economies of scale, right? And the economies of scale and the cost advantage, we can say. Right? Because they are already there, economies of scale must be operating and they're fixed. They are already into the market, they know the market. So majorly, it is brand identity and the cost advantage and the economies of scale. So that is that is the advantage that the existing companies might be enjoying in this case, right? So this was the case I wanted to do, and now I would come on to the focus strategy. Okay, before that I'll see if I can get one more. Answer this MCQ. Very nice. Saikat is also given the right answer. Subin is also given the right answer. Yes. This is another MCQ. Please answer this. In your chat boxes, fast. A firm producing shoes decides to reduce the prices of the shoes while delivering the reasonable quality. I don't know what was the word behind it. I cannot read it. So cost leadership strategy, focused leadership strategy. Which is the strategy? It is differentiation, delivering this. Let's see if I can see the word by ending the show. Yes, delivering the same quality. The word is the same. Okay, I'll come into the slideshow again. A firm producing shoes decides to reduce the price of the shoes while delivering the same quality. Which of the following strategy is a firm following? Option A. Perfect. Vimla is right. Saikat is right. Okay. Coming on to the focus strategy. Now, focus strategy is based on, you remember in market segmentation, I talked about undifferentiated. Now, the cost leadership is related to undifferentiated. Differentiated strategy is related to differentiated segmentation. And focus strategy is related to concentrated segmentation. Is it clear? So, the 3 types of segmentation which I did before are now related to the types of strategies. So, focus strategy is focusing on a niche or a concentrated segment or an industry segment. Concentrated segment is the segment which is large enough and has growth potential, but that is not crucial to the success of competitors. That means these two, the large segment which has growth and the niche, both are not in the eyes of the competitors. Competitors have overlooked them. Competitors are not worried about entering into them, and they are lying untapped. That is the biggest thing. Now, one more important question, because you're important observation that you're trying to confuse between niche and the segmentation is, niche is when it is not tapped. It has not been tapped as yet, and the competitors are not even trying to look at it because they find it very, very unprofitable. So that is niche, where the competitors' success is not depending on them and they don't pay attention to these. So these are untapped and these are not having the focus of these competitors. Similarly, this synergy segment, though it is large and has growth potential, but competitors are not interested in. For example, if you say BPO, below the, I don't know whether you have heard of it, bottom of the pyramid, that means the persons who are below the poverty line, they also form a very big market, but the companies are not interested in them. They don't want to cater to them because they don't have resources, but they do need necessities to survive, isn't it? They need necessities to survive. They might be wanting to have some products in life. For example, wheat, rice, they might be consuming. So if a producer of wheat and it tries to focus on the people who are below the poverty line and who are not being tapped by other competitors, then that is known as a focus strategy. So this is the lowest example. Highest could be that you want to cater to a very high level customer and give him a lot of customization, because for normal competitor it is not possible to deliver highly customized products. Okay, so that is why you follow a customized policy, focused policy. Focused strategy could be of two types: focused cost leadership and focused differentiation. Cost leadership and differentiation, you add the word focus. Now it is a narrow market. These cost leadership and differentiation, they focus, try to tap mass markets, but focus strategy tries to tap narrow markets, right? So I will just concentrate on focused cost leadership. Focused cost leadership is that, just a minute, where is it? Focused cost leadership is that that the strategy requires the competing based on price to target a narrow market. Here you want to compete, which is a leadership strategy, which is based on price. But you give low price product, but to a very, very narrow market. A firm follows this strategy, does not necessarily charge lowest price in the industry. It charges low price in relation to the competitors, not the lowest, but low price in relation to other firms and which are competing within the target market. So what it tries to do is, it tries to focus on a particular segment and give them products at low price. Right? So this is focused cost leadership. And focused differentiation is that you try to give differentiated products but to a very focused group. So when you try to give a differentiated product to a focused group, then it means that you are giving a lot of customization to that product. You are entering into customization. Now what is customization is that you produce the product according to the wishes of that particular customer. For example, if you go to a parlor, the haircut given to you by that barber would be the way you want it to be, right? The way you want it to be. So he will do it according to your wishes. This is high level of customization, but at a very low stage. That means a barber. You just pay a small price and you get the customized haircut. But if you go to Western countries, these specialized services are very, very expensive. They are cheaper in India only. So that is focus differentiation. That means you give differentiated product to every single customer of yours. Every single customer of yours, you give a differentiated product. Okay. You see the specific requirements of the product and you deliver the product according to the specific needs of that single buyer. It's not a market. It's a single buyer. Okay. Or a very small segment of the buyer. Very high profile customers. Very high class working women for product for them. When there is a very, very specific segment you are catering to. For example, expensive handbags for very, very high class, style conscious women or working women. So when you do it this way, this is a focus differentiation. For example, so the designers, they might design your dresses, but they'll cost you exorbitant because they're designers. Then you get villas or your houses constructed according to your wishes. So that is again a focused differentiation strategy. High level of customization would come into picture when you do focus differentiation. So costing is very high because you're catering to each and every customer individually. Porsche makes cars according to the needs of the customer. What does the customer want? They will make the car according to the specific needs of the customers. So that is focus differentiation. So focused cost leadership is the strategy which is followed by small firms. The small firms, they do not want to enter into a major segment because they don't have resources. They don't want to tap a big market. They want to tap a small market and they want to give them products at a reasonable price. So the local producers, the producers who are catering to a small community, small locality, small state, small city, they would have this focus cost leadership, and focus differentiation would be the amount of customization a firm wants to give. All of you have got the right answer. Satish, Meenakshi, Prashant, Sanjay, everyone. Perfect. Karan, what are you asking? Please tell live examples for each in one place. Karan, please specify your question. And again, I am unable to understand which live examples are you wanting and where at one place are you wanting, so that I can write it in my PPT only and I will show it to you in the next class. Please write what exactly are you wanting, Karan. So that's it. And how do you achieve focus strategy is, but then focus strategy is a little risky because it's a very small segment. You're catering to very small segment. So if the preferences of the consumers change, or if a competitor finds that, oh, this is a segment which is existing and it is very lucrative, and then you lose that segment. So focus strategy is a very, very risky strategy also because you're putting all your attention into one segment, and if it goes, you're left with nothing. So how can you achieve focus strategies? You select specific niches which are not covered by the cost leaders and differentiators. The ones who are catering to mass markets, they ignore these niches. And these niches are then entertained by the focus strategy people. Creating superior skills for catering to such niches. So what you do, you create superior skills. You create your own skills. So then you generate high efficiency for serving such niche markets because you are serving only a small segment. You are understanding the needs, your want very, very, very specifically. You become expert in them. You specialize in them, and your efficiencies increase. And then you develop innovative ways to handle this small segment. For example, when you go for a haircut, the haircutter gives you very different styles, very innovative styles, because he becomes a master in that art of haircut. So he is only focusing on that, and he's only focusing on what you exactly are wanting. So that way you develop innovative ways because you are just trying to entertain or handle only few customers. You are not trying to handle mass market. You're trying to handle only a narrow market. So advantaged focus strategy advantages are that you can charge premium prices because you are doing high level of customization. You can charge any amount of price. Then because of the tremendous expertise you get, the specialization you get about the goods and services, organizations following focus strategy offer focus strategies their rivals and competitors cannot survive because you have a lot of expertise and efficiency. Disadvantages already told that there are no distinctive competencies because you are only operating in one, and this can go away with the competitor, and in the long run these niches may disappear because when I was telling you that Western wear were fat women because fat women did not wear it. When all the fat women all start wearing Western wear, it will become a proper segment. Then it will not remain a niche, right? So niche is like niche or focus strategy is one way of strategizing or entering, but it is majorly for the small firms, whereas cost leadership and differentiation is for the large or the big firms. So with that, I end up my lecture for today, and I'll be doing the rest of it in the next class, and I'll also be doing one a little case scenario also with you, and I'll just want to show if I can. I'll show you one of where is it? Okay, I'll show it in the next class. It's not showing it here. So, any questions or any problems you want to raise? I'll give you 2 minutes. There are 2-3 minutes, I think. Yeah, you can just tell me, put it in the chat box, or I shall bid you goodbye for today. Karan, you have not clarified, so I'll not be able to answer. Please clarify so that I come with it in the next class. What are you wanting? Live examples for each in one place? So with that, I end up my today's lectures. The lectures to students, I wish you a very wonderful evening and stay happy, stay safe in your homes, and see you next time in the next class. Good night.